Hello and welcome to Poori.Academy. I think it's no secret that I really like programming, so I decided to make a video dedicated to programming today.
I think I've been programming for more than 5 years now and around 2 years as a professional programmer, and as a result I look like this as a 23-year-old. So I thought I'd share some career paths with people who want to either start programming or are interested in some other career paths that they haven't tried out yet. The first 3 years of my programming, I was like a new user in Wall Street bets. I did not know what I want to bet my whole life on. So I ended up trying a lot of different fields before ending up with my current job. Currently, I mostly spend my time doing full stack programming and doing data science, but I have had a fair share of experience in almost all the fields that I'm going to be talking about today. So let's start with the list. Web developers. Let's start with the type of programming that almost everyone starts with because, well, money. This type of programmers develop most applications that you use on a daily basis, like Uber, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or anything like them. If you choose this category, some common paths are either to join Fang or to create your own startup, although there are a ton of other alternatives that you can choose that are pretty great as well. It includes 4 type of developer communities that we're going to go through. Backend developers. These people are responsible for the business logic and make the code that runs on the servers that you do not have direct access to. Well, unless it's Facebook, then having a yearly leak of data and access is just considered good business. A lot of the time, backend developers are seen as people who look down on other programmers, but the reality is that we just feel sad that we can't show off our complex logic that we made using microservices and event-driven design and domain-driven design that is based on solid principles that has 10 working parts together to anyone without looking like a conspiracy theorist. And we have to use a front end for users to enjoy it no matter how complex and efficient our code is. Front end is a good segue to our next group, which is a front-end web developer. These are the guys that make the web pages that you have to work with. They have to know a ton of things to make even the most basic good-looking website like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and sometimes frameworks like Sass, Bootstrap, Angular, React, or Vue. Without them, there is nothing for the user to use unless they want to learn how to use APIs, which I don't think your average internet user can and will. They usually have to work with JS or some sort of its variation and have to keep track of all its frameworks that come out every 7 days. Sorry, that can't be right. Oh yeah, every 7 frameworks that come out every day. They spend their whole week and 40 hours of work only for everything to break by an API change on the backend. Mobile programmers. These are the guys that make the apps for your phones that have to deal with Google's and Apple's hundreds of privacy updates that breaks most of their works for new phones. These guys are the front-end developers, but for phones. But a lot of the times, front-end developers can use the same frameworks to develop for phones as well, using things like React Native or Ionic. But there are some native programming supreme theorists that believe nothing can beat native programming. These are a group of individuals that can usually be found in their habitat using Swift, Objective-C, Java, or Kotlin, and redoing 90% of their work when they're adding a new platform for their app. UI UX developers. These groups design the flow and the look of the application that the front-end developers and the mobile developers actually implement. A lot of people might forget to include this category either because they actually forget it or because they have a strict coding needed policy to be considered a developer. But I would say that without a UI UX developer, the website probably looks like one of my drawings. And since they are developing something, they are by most definitions considered a developer. In many small teams, their role might be merged with a front-end developer, but to be honest, we all know how many jobs can be combined into one for small teams. Speaking of combining jobs, let's talk about the full-stack developers. Full-stack developer is ideally the developer that does at least the front-end and the back-end side of the app at the same time, but sometimes they do more. It is usually what developers think they are after completing an intro to web development course in their CS degree, because half their team decided that they don't want to do the project. But in reality, they are a unicorn for companies who want to employ a whole department by hiring one person. But sometimes they can be found in the wild scenery of the internet trying to make their own projects by themselves because they don't want to come out of their cave and interact with other developers. QA or quality assurance engineers. This group is responsible for testing features and apps to make sure that they work in all of the expected situations. This is a group of developers that every company promises their customers and their shareholders that they have, but at the end of the day, their whole department can be summarized in one file, including 1 == 1, because they have a great
policy of hiring one QA developer for every 50 developers that they hire for other departments. This usually results into very lovely program features, examples of which can be found in every company, even AAA companies. Data scientists. This group uses data to predict and analyze different situations, and at times comes up with solutions for the company. A lot of people get into this job expecting to create deep learning and new machine learning models, but 99% of their time will be spent on wondering why their SQL is costing them $1,000 on BigQuery or some other data warehousing solution, and why it's taking so long to process, and why their Airflow jobs are failing. They're truly the hoarders of the programmers. They gather as much data as they can, so they have caused some of the following legislations for their own safety and the safety of others. Desktop developers, mostly an extinct group of developers, especially with the rise of progressive web apps, since web apps can now do most, but not all of the jobs of a native desktop app. You can still find some of them in fields like making desktop VPNs, which brings us to today's sponsor. Just kidding, no one will ever sponsor this channel. But if you want to support the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. Game developers and legacy programmers are also in this field, and speaking of game developers, let's talk about our next group. Game developers. Game developers are the guys who make the games. Their job encompasses many things like making game engines that simulate physics and everything else, or using set game engines to make the games using Unity or Unreal or any other custom-built game engine. The true down point of such a cool job is that they usually have to crunch for their employers because of how the business side of the game industry works and how the deadline works. But most of the times they're treated like the cast of the Game of Thrones show, with a lot of layoffs, even in AAA companies, while their counterparts in other fields might have a much better job security. Embedded system developers. This group is responsible for the programming of IoT devices and other low-level programs that talk more directly to the machine. They're usually known as the people who know how everything works, and in some cases that is true, but be careful if you want to become one, because the most probable outcome is that you will end up watching your backend and frontend developer friends using megabytes of RAM like YouTubers use their viewers to sell them altcoin pumps and dumps, that is to say without any care. Well, you have to actually consider how many kilobytes your compiled code is going to take up on the machine, because your resources are more limited than the number of views I get on my videos. Well, I hope that you liked my video. If you like the format, I have a ton of other videos that have the same format but actually teach you how to do awesome projects and to use awesome tools. If you're interested, please leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell button to get notifications for the new videos, and I'll leave some suggestions for other videos that I've made before. Thank you for watching.